What's going on? It's your boy CJ Goodfellow. We back with the Boxing Clinic. Shout out to the homie T. Chella Campbell for putting his video request in. Like I told you guys, you want to get a video request, leave in the comments or click in the description. Facebook link and inbox me there. But he want to know, where I believe Floyd Mayweather stands amongst the all-time greats when I think about his legacy. Floyd, a lot of people don't remember when Floyd was coming up, Pretty Boy Floyd, the Giordano Hernandez fight, when that man gave him an opportunity when he didn't have to, when Floyd was in the top 10, and people weren't sure about Floyd. I remember Ring Magazine, I think it was the Ring, was asking, was he the real deal or not? And at the time, I believe Roy Jones was on top of the game, and Floyd was still improving. A lot of questions that you guys have about Earl Spence, have about, the other young prospects coming up, the Charlos, the Caleb Plants of the world, the David Benavidez of the world, and a lot of people. A lot of questions that you had, those questions was had about Floyd Mayweather. And it's just a process of, becoming a superstar in boxing or top dog in boxing. And I know it's hard for people to fathom that. A lot of people don't remember Floyd Mayweather 96, 97, 98, 99. They don't remember their history. A lot of people don't respect the history of boxing. And one thing I can say about Floyd, talking about his legacy, before I continue to go on, is the fact that he never disrespected the game one time. He never disrespected. And people say, well, with the Marquez thing, he came in overweight. At the end of the day, it was what it is. He did. He wasn't making that weight. And I don't see it as a disrespect to the game. Marquez could have walked away and been happy with the situation. When he got paid, he took the money. But other than that, he always came in shape. He was a student of the game. He made the weights for the most part. And, he came in and gave a great show. He respected his opponents after every fight. He might have chastised him when he was Money Mayweather and talked some trash, but it was mad love after the fight. And he came and gave it his all. It wasn't no shortchanging. It wasn't no excuses. It wasn't no acting like I threw out the ring. I hurt my shoulder like Bernard Hopkins. No excuses like Bernard. And he accepted it. Everything that came with the game. And about Giordano Hernandez, he blessed him. And blessed his family. When he passed away, he paid for the full funeral expenses off the clout that Hernandez gave him an opportunity that he could have waited another 2 or 3 years for and not gotten. Off the strength of him giving that opportunity, he looked out for him and took care of his funeral because he knew how important getting that championship that early in his career was for him. And that could have set him back 2 or 3 years in his career. You never know. When you set time back like that, you never know how it's going to play out. But, most people love to bring up the Castile fight. That's the only fight they really remember about Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather. And people forget about that fight. That dude had one arm. They begged him not to go in there with that torn rotator cuff. And a lot of people, like I said, until this day, they still score fights for people that's bringing pressure and stuff of that nature. And you still questioning professional judging. They had him winning. It was probably close to a lot of people because it still made it, people tend to look at it as this way. When the A side or the favorite of a fighter gets in a tough fight, they tend to overreact and overscore and overreact to decisions and say, oh, that was robbery, that guy won. Because the favorite didn't look superhuman. But every night you can't be on point, especially with a torn rotator cuff. He still gave a good show. And then he showed how true champion he was and came back and ran it back with him and beat him decisively the next time as well. So a lot of people, tend to forget the rematch. They bring up the first fight. They bring out the fact that he had one arm in that fight and he fought like a warrior. People just say, oh, this is the first time this dude had a tough fight. Let's chastise him like Jungle. He's a hype job and stuff of that nature. And but then he goes on, and before that, right around that time, he calls out, all the Mexican fighters, Barrera, Morales, and he called out Shane Mosley. I get to Shane in a minute. A lot of people say, well, he didn't fight this. The reason why they didn't want no smoke with Floyd Mayweather, I don't care what you say. A lot of them guys don't want no smoke with Floyd Mayweather. They knew what was going to happen to him. They knew what he was. Pacquiao got those opportunities because they felt they could beat Pacquiao. Pacquiao was still a little bit raw. But people knew Floyd pedigree from the amateurs and the Olympics, and they knew what was going to happen to him. And Shane Mosley chose to move up and face Oscar De La Hoya for the payday. He jumped up 2 weight classes. I ain't mad at him. I wouldn't call that a duck. Shane Mosley is arguably one of the greatest 135-pounders from Roberto Duran of all time. So, Floyd moved up and fought who he fought. Turgati, Baltimore, Zab Judah. People, when he fought Zab Judah, people say, well, he lost to Carlos Baltimore. He went back and fought with Carlos Baltimore. I mean, he always showed signs of a true champion at a young age. He called out all those guys. His video clips, all that. He called them all out. And people say, well, Floyd got, he cherry-picked his whole career. He didn't cherry-pick his whole career. The first half of his career, he earned the right to pick his fights. The difference is, cherry-picking today, these guys ain't earned shit. They ain't go through the fire, and they trying to pick their fights, because they title holders. This dude actually put the blood, sweat, tears in, and put the work in to be the successor to Roy Jones Jr. He did that. And the funny thing about his legacy is this. Even when he became Money Mayweather, whoever he fought, the same, decafs or detractors or haters got behind whoever he was fighting. They paid to see him lose. They were like, oh, it's Canelo Alvarez, man. He gonna beat him, man. Doug Fisher, he too old, man. This weight class is for a reason. What happened? He got whooped. Oh, Canelo was weak. Oh, he whacked. They always try to win back and try to turn and try to take credit away from this, man. They still do it to this day with these fighters. A lot of these American fighters. They try to go back and take credit. They say, this guy gonna beat him. They get behind him. They pay to see the fight. They talk junk and say, oh, this guy gonna beat him and this guy gonna do that. And then the guy loses and they all flip the script and try to take credit away from the fighter. And they do that to a lot of American fighters. And I'm afraid that's going to happen to Deontay Wilder when he faces Anthony Joshua. If he defeats Anthony Joshua, they're going to take credit away from him somehow, some way. And that's the way the boxing game works. But we're talking about, raking this guy. I don't know. At 47, tough. It's a lot of tough guys at 47. You have Ray Robinson, Ray Leonard, Tito Trinidad, Thomas Hearns, Roberto Duran. But if you're talking about 30 to 40, his overall boxing career, man, he did what he had to do. He's greater than a lot of those guys that came up. He's greater than Felix Trinidad to me. He's greater than Oscar De La Hoya, obviously. But Oscar fought a murderous row of fighters. When he left Bob Arum, he started doing his thing. He's greater than Mike Tyson, obviously. I would put him in the same class as Hagler, because Hagler never moved up. Ray Leonard, I put him in that class of fighter. Duran, he's definitely amongst the best in the business. And when you talk about the best in the business, he transcends. When you talk about legacy, you talking about ranking guys. You got to put legacy in there. He changed the boxing game, just as Ray Leonard changed the boxing game, make a ton of money. Floyd Mayweather set the bar even higher, and his impact on boxing is something to take in with his legacy as well. So his impact on boxing is probably right under Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson brought so many fans to the fight game. Muhammad Ali brought so many fans. His impact on the community, I mean, I don't think it'll never be topped. But what Floyd did for boxing, with him, powering up with Al Heyman and chaining up with him, he brought a lot of money and a lot of revenue to the sport of boxing. He brought a lot of notoriety to small weight classes. When the heavyweights faltered and they shook and it shook the boxing game, and the boxing game took a big hit when heavyweights fell off after Lennox Lewis and Vitaly Klitschko, Floyd Mayweather picked that baton up and kept the sport alive. And people want to say, well, he took away from the sport, he hurt the sport in the way he fought. But at the end of the day, he got the top 4 or 5 pay-per-view records for combat sports broken already. How did he hurt the sport when he just bring fanfare to the sport? So in a time of crisis for boxing, when heavyweights went down, who picked the game up? Who made the little weight classes, more relevant than the big weight classes? It was Floyd Mayweather Jr. He helped usher that in. And that's something to be said for legacy. When we talk about inside the ring, when you got a guy that's calculated, that's technique is damn near flawless, footwork is flawless, everything he do is flawless, is calculated. I mean, he could beat anybody on any given night at his weight classes. He's a soldier. He's a technical marvel. He's probably got the best technique I've seen of any fighter on film. Best defense. One of the best defensive fighters I've seen. He got the offense when he was younger with Roger. I mean, it's two phases to this man's career. He's up there. A lot of people don't want to hear it, but definitely the best is air. They tried to give it to Pacquiao. There wasn't no contest. People talk about the Pacquiao fight. People, even years later, after Pacquiao got stopped, people saying Pacquiao gonna beat him, Pacquiao gonna beat him, Pacquiao beat him. People believe that when he beat Pacquiao, they say it was born. They try to take away from him again. You know what I'm saying? And his legacy is above Bernard Hopkins and other guys that was in the same era as him. He took the game by the horn. He changed it. Bernard could never do the numbers he did. And Bernard fought in the same shape and manner he did. And Floyd, took, the smaller weight classes above. And Bernard fought at a middleweight weight class where that was a legendary weight class as well. But, Floyd just took it over the top, A lot of people don't want to give him his credit. But all y'all haters got behind all the guys he was fighting and said that he was going to beat them. But guess what? He beat them. Y'all try to take away and try to detract to what he did. At the end of the day, his legacy is forever changing the game of boxing. Y'all want to spin it to a negative manner. It's a positive manner. He put more money in the game. He brought notoriety to the game. He picked up where the heavyweights fell off at. He up there.